Hi, it's Nell, and welcome to my patio. This is the third in the series of 3 String of Pearls videos. It's not going to be the last one ever on String of Pearls, but for now it is. And it is in answer to a question that I received probably about 8 months ago or so, or I forget how long ago. Anyway, this woman asked me, my string of pearls flowered. Is that normal? So stick around because I'm going to answer the question coming up. And the answer is yes. It's really not normal because a lot of string of pearls don't flower indoors, or they don't flower a lot. Mine flower outdoors much more readily than indoors. But most succulents that I know of do flower, and they flower in either the late fall, winter, or into spring. The cactus around here, and in case you don't know, is Tucson, Arizona. I live in the desert, and the cactus flower usually starting now until mid-spring. The torch aloes in Santa Barbara, the beautiful big orange spikes, they flowered in late fall. And my string of pearls started flowering probably in mid-January, and there's just a few left on it now. And I actually filmed this video a couple of weeks ago when there were more flowers on it, but it just did not turn out. The background is really hard to get here. The string of pearls is right here, and I can't take that container down. It's so heavy. So with all the light in the background, it just wasn't even focusing on the flowers, and I was talking about them. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you a clip from, I think it was about the end of January, so that you can see the, the flowers. You'll know what I'm talking about. And then I'll be right back with you after this clip. And yes, string of pearls does flower. You can see them right here. They aren't terribly significant, but boy, they smell so good. They're sweet, spicy. They have a little bit of clove to them almost. Just so nice. And it's a warm January afternoon. It's about 80 degrees, and they are just smelling so good because there's quite a few of them. Oops, it's getting a little dark there. It's not that it's dark out, it's just and the background. But you can see that the flowers go all the way down to the bottom. So as you can see, they are small, white, puffy flowers on longish stems, and they aren't terribly showy, but boy, do they have a scent. They are sweet, spicy. They're like a clovey carnation with, cinnamon mixed in. It's just a really, really nice smell. This is the first week in March, and back in January and into February, we had some really, really warm days. And when those flowers were all out, it would just smell really good when you walked by. I just had to stop because it just smelled so good. And of course, it was the heat that brought it out. I had quite a few string of pearls plants in Santa Barbara, and none of them flowered quite as heavily as this one did here this year. Last year, this one, I don't know if it even flowered because I had just transplanted it into that pot. I can't remember. I have so many plants, it's hard to keep track of the flowering. But anyway, it did flower really heavily this winter. So I don't have anything to impart about maybe it'll flower heavily one year and then the following year, like a Hoya. I'll oftentimes get a heavy flowering and then I'll just get no flowering, and then the next year I'll get a bit of flowering. I'm not quite sure on that, but I will tell you what brings on the flowering. What I believe brings on the flowering, because it does flower in the winter, is when the days get a little shorter and the evening temperatures and the temperatures in general get cooler, because this does not flower in the summer or the fall. It flowers in the winter time. And I don't do anything to it to encourage the bloom. I just feed mine with worm compost and compost every spring. That's what I do outdoors. I do it indoors too, except I use a lighter. I don't use as much compost because you don't want to use as much compost indoors if you're going to use compost. There's also, sort of a controversy about using compost indoors, but I've been doing it for years. Anyway, it is a cooler season plant for flowering, like most of the succulents are. So don't try to use a bloom fertilizer to encourage the bloom. This is just one of those things that it's going to flower on its own. You don't want to use that on succulents at all. And indoors, I did have one of my string of pearls flower, but I think it only had like 4 flowers on it. It didn't flower nearly as much indoors as they do outdoors for me. So if you have grown string of pearls indoors and you get a big flowering on it, let us know what type of a situation you have it in. I imagine it has to be really bright light, to bring on the flowering. And I imagine it would be backing off on the water and the temperatures being a bit cool. But please let us know. So it has been in bloom for probably about a month and a half now. There's only a few blooms left up on the top, which I will try and show you so you can see that. It's not a terribly long bloom period, but it's not short either. And my string of bananas, which is right behind the string of pearls, also is flowering. It didn't flower nearly as heavily as a string of pearls. And my fishhook's senecio has never flowered, but it is more than touching the ground over there. I'll show you that too if you're into hanging succulents. So here is the fishhook's senecio, which has never flowered. And you can see how long it is. I just wanted to show you that. And I'm going to be giving this a good haircut soon. It's about time, huh? I'm standing up here on the love seat now, so hopefully I don't fall off. But as you can see, the blooms are up at the top here on the string of pearls. It's just really hard to get this with the background. And when we come all the way down, there are no flowers. The plant looks fabulous, and it'll really start to grow now because the days and the evenings are warming, but there's just a few blooms left down there. So I hope you have found this video to be helpful. I just wanted to answer the question if they do flower, and the answer is yes. So I thank you for all your likes and your subscribes. I really appreciate them. I have a lot more videos coming your way, so be sure and stay tuned for those. Now let's get out in our gardens or into our indoor gardens and make our worlds a more beautiful place. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.